Welcome back to On Point, everybody. This episode of the podcast is a collaboration episode again with the Lethal Podcast guys. I'm joined by Matt, Rob, and Garrett Fairchild, and we talk about the new bow lineups for this year and just have a really good discussion about what everybody liked, maybe what we didn't like, some kind of trends that we're seeing with the new bows this year, and overall, what are our favorite top 3 bows? What are we going to go with? What are we really looking at? And just really had a great conversation with these guys. Before we start, one quick reminder is that the bow reviews are hitting YouTube. But right now we got PSE, Bowtech, Matthews, and Hoyt already uploaded. The bow comparison videos will be up very soon. Just be sure to go onto YouTube, search my name, Garrett Weaver. I'll pull right up, click that subscribe button with the bell icon, and catch that content on there. There's a lot of good information, and folks are really digging those videos. So outside of that, appreciate you listening, and I'll see you at the end. Bye.
So, Garrett, I would like to thank you personally. One, for being here. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And two, for your videos, including heavier arrows. I am really happy that somebody is doing that because I see all these speed tests and it's like 350 grain arrow, 400 grain arrow, super heavy, monstrous 450 grain arrow. And I'm like, that's not even getting close to what I want. And
I'm getting a lot of flack for that, by the way, so you're welcome. Why aren't you shooting 350? What are you shooting, elephants? I'm like, dude, that's a 450 grain arrow. No, I'm not going to shoot an elephant, but you know.
I would like to see the speeds like all the way from a 350 to heavier, but I thought you got down to like a 380 or a 400 or something, which is pretty light to me. I guess
450 is my lightest, and the reason I'm doing that is I try to tell people why I do it as nicely as I can on Facebook, because one guy's like, what do you shoot in Cape Buffalo? Why don't you shoot real world speeds? And I'm like, my heaviest arrow is 640.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I'm like, okay, here. So I said, personal preference. I don't want to promote shooting IBO. IBO for me literally has no bearing except for, I can shoot a heavier arrow faster. Right. Yeah. Don't go below this. And so I told him, I don't really want to promote shooting lighter arrows. If you want to watch those lighter reviews, you can click on any of them. And you're going to get the lighter arrow reviews. I want to set myself apart and then also set a precedence that, let's shoot a little bit heavier arrow. Not, it doesn't have to be like Rob's arrows, I don't have to be pushing 1,000, grains or whatever. But let's shoot the happy medium.
With 450 to 500 grain arrows all the time.
Yeah, and
I have my personal preference, but I don't try and push it on other people.
Yeah, and so I told him, I'm like, there's tons of reviews. Like, dude, just watch literally any of the other reviews. You're gonna get the 350 IBO, stuff. But let's shoot rural world speeds, and the Rance Ferry guy likes to put adult arrows or whatever, and I think that's funny. Yeah. But I don't know if that would bring anybody over to your team. That's like a kind of like a backhanded like, hey silly kind of thing. But so I'm trying to put it a little bit more nicer, even though I think that the Rance Ferry's on point and pretty funny. But that's.
I think what you're doing is applicable to the majority of bow hunters. I mean,
I would agree.
Granted, like in my area of Wisconsin, it's very common to see guys hunting with, say, like a 375 to 425 grain arrow. And that's whitetail and turkey.
Yeah. Well, you have dinosaur deer up there too, so.
Yeah. I mean, they're larger. They gotta be hardy for our winters. I mean, we've already been approaching 0 and already had snow a handful of times. It's stupid this year.
Holy smoke!
But I guess my point was, I think that at least for a lot of guys that aren't pure speed freaks, a 400 grain arrow, 4 to 425 is fairly common. So 450 isn't far off.
Yeah.
And so to be pushing, going, hey, a little bit more isn't a bad thing. And showing that it's not this gigantic speed loss, as you step up is great. And that's for the guys that are like elk hunting or the guys that are going after bigger game. That's beneficial, and that's information that's not like it's hard to find that stuff without doing it yourself.
Yeah. Speaking of elk, by the way, we haven't talked like in this format since you shot your bull. Congrats, by the way.
Yeah.
Talking to me or Garrett? The other Garrett.
To you. Oh God, here we go again.
Both Garrett's
Garrett
got
one,
it done this year.
Garrett two. Yeah. To you, Weaver. Mr.
Weaver and
Mr.
Fairchild.
Weaver.
Well, congratulations to the other Garrett too.
That's right.
That was that I tried documenting that. I do when you want to see cool shit or have a great hunt, leave the camera in the truck. So I left the camera in the truck, and I could have had some really cool footage of that bull sleeping with his head down and looking around, and then could have filmed the shot, about as easily as anything I've ever filmed. But I saw the bull. I was like, I'm not going to mess this up and bring a camera, and I'm just going to kill this thing. And yeah, I'm extremely happy with it. And he's very photogenic. He's not as big as what you'd think. I had a couple guys that were thinking 270, 275, and I was thinking 265. But he's a 255. Which for a Rosie's a great bull.
Yeah.
I'm tickled to death with them. It's my biggest bull, and that heavy arrow, heavy for me, 535. That's the heaviest arrow I've ever shot.
That's a good arrow, man. Ain't no shame in that.
Yeah, 14% I think is what I'm running, and
dig that.
Pass through both meaty part of the shoulders. Just at a long distance. So I'm sold on the heavier, arrows and stuff, but, and talking to guys, they always want to tell you how light of an arrow they got to pass through on. It's like, well, great. What did you hit?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it was a good bull. It was, for guys that want to know, it was 80-yard shot.
Dadgum, son. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, hard pass through. My fletchings were still in the bowl, but it went.
We'll give it a pass. We'll give it a pass this time.
Yeah, I call those hard pass throughs, and I mean, shit, I can't ask. I don't think my 457 grain arrow would have done that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to judge and compare to other ones, but I mean, hell, man, I wouldn't care if you had shot it with an IBO 8 arrow. I'd still be pumped for you. That's still good stuff. But I'm just glad that we've got another advocate, because that's kind of our entire goal is to
that's
get
kind
people,
of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, just trying to get that wound loss down, man. It's just
I know.
it's killing us.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, well,
it's
or go ahead.
No, I just saying it's it's something we're working with the ABF on and gonna try and help them with some stuff. So we're pumped. We're pumped to keep on keeping on. I'm glad we've got another guy to kind of hang out in our corner and say yeah when we do something right.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I'm I think the truth is always kind of found in the middle, to be honest with you, and I'm kind of a middle arrow guy right now. I'm thinking as heavy. I take the same philosophy you guys do. Shoot as heavy as you're comfortable with. If you like the trajectory, shoot it. On lighter animals like an antelope, I'm not going to shoot a 535 grain arrow. I'm probably be back down to like 450, and I'll still plow right through it at 70 yards, 80 yards. There's not even a problem.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, I've gotten pass-throughs on every deer I've shot out to 72 yards with 425 to on up arrows. And so, I mean, it's very possible. I think a lot of that depends on your head and also depends on your arrow setup. And then also how fast you're shooting it. But
it's huge.
Yeah.
And honestly, broadhead and making a clean shot are, I guess, the deciding factors on most of your smaller game.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when I'm saying smaller, not 600-700 pound, your whitetail pigs.
Yeah,
whatever.
Your small big game.
Yeah, because it's technically considered big game, but it's like I don't consider whitetail and pigs and antelope, like
big game. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the extra weight is honestly insurance. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, if you need it, then you wish you wanted it, you had it. But it's you've got to make that choice and be where you're comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable with the trajectory, you're not comfortable with the ranges that you can get,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to be second guessing. You're going to be in your own head. You're not going to make as good of a shot, and now you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
It doesn't matter how good everything is on paper if your head's not in it. It
Right.
don't matter.
Well, and just like to bring Garrett, he has a mic and everything, right? I haven't heard him talk hardly at all.
Yeah, I'm alive.
Yeah, Garrett's our quiet cat.
He
Garrett just
he had a bull
hangs out
jump
in the
on him
corner.
this year at close range, and so
Yeah.
that could happen 20 yards, 40 yards, 60 yards, whether you have a light arrow or a fast arrow. If something jumps, unless you anticipated it, man, that's a extremely tough go because those animals are extremely fast. I've got a buck on video my dad shot at 40 yards, and he had him pegged. But he shot 2 foot over that back when he was standing regular. That deer, he probably would have shot half a foot over his back. So he would have missed either way, but that deer's chest almost hit the ground. I mean, it was it was gone and leaving, tail facing us before that arrow even hit the tree behind it. So
Yep.
there's a huge argument for arrows. I don't even know how we got on arrows, but there's a huge argument for.
I was going to say this wasn't the planned discussion, but here we are.
Yeah. So what was the topic again?
Bows. Yeah. So and that's I'm really pumped that you're here to talk about it because arrows and broadheads and stuff like that is kind of our wheelhouse and it's what we like to talk about.
Yeah.
But you do have to have a machine to propel it. And there's kind of a reason that we haven't talked about it a ton, and it's because I think that we kind of have a consensus here on Lethal Podcast that bows are very subjective and like a personal choice. I think that you can look at arrows and components and broadheads, and you can say this performs better than this for X, Y, and Z. When you look at bows. Yes.
Data, right? It doesn't matter what bow is throwing the arrow.
Right.
If you build a good arrow, it's going to perform better.
Right. But with bows, it's like and granted, we've kind of got this little, social experiment we're going to try. But I think those are very personal. Like I'll never, I prefer, even though I don't shoot them, I prefer limb stops. I think limb stops are personally what I think is superior in the way that I shoot, but not everyone likes to shoot limb stops. There's just so many things with bows where I'm like, I will never be able to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't have or what's better.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that comes from my own ignorance because I'm not a bow technician and I don't know everything about them, nor will I ever claim to.
Right.
Just wait until you do your bow test.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm going to get...
You'll be learning.
Yeah, I know. Which I am really excited about. And I don't know if we've announced it, but we do have a shop that we partnered with for that test we've mentioned before. So that will be coming this winter. So you all are... Yeah, you're all very welcome.
Or something? What are you doing?
Kind of. We are, long story short, we are going to be shooting 10 flagship bows. That I don't know if you guys can hear that dog outside, but man, it is pumped. The dog's like, bow test, hell yeah! But we're going to be shooting 10 flagship bows. With 10 arrows from 350 to 1250 grains, measuring out to, I think we're going to try and do 50 yards. It depends on what my lab radar can actually pick up. We're going to be measuring speed out to that 50-yard mark. And it's kind of a bow and an arrow test, but the arrow test is just kind of a like a speed retention test compared to mass and seeing how it does at longer trajectories. So we're going to shoot.
I've wanted to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
Man, you got to get a lab radar, man. That's where it's at.
Yeah. I'll just let you guys have that one.
Yeah, they're steep. You have to take out a second mortgage, but they're pretty neat.
They are nice though.
I want to see you guys do something while you're at it. Is IBO retention, or not really? Wouldn't be IBO retention, but what bow maintains the best? I guess speed retention for half-inch increments of draw lost. So basically, it'd be like back when the primes came out, they boasted that most bows lose 8 to 10 feet per inch, and then the primes were just like, oh yeah, we lose 5 per inch, and I'm like, sold. That was amazing for me when I got that. And I don't remember exactly what I was getting, but I kind of felt like it was like a diesel. It wasn't fast to get up and go. But it would pull. It would pull a heavier arrow quicker, or I can't say that. It would maintain its load better. With a shorter draw. But I never actually put the data or tested that. I'd love to see something like that.
Interesting. That's it's really interesting that you bring that up. And I swear to God, we're going to get to bows here in a minute. But our buddy Brandon. Just posted today. He was talking about he's about to go on deployment, and he's like, which bow should I spend all my deployment money on? and he was talking about, I think it was a Bowtech Experience, and he said when he dropped it half an inch, he lost 15 feet per second. When he went from a 30-inch draw to a 29.5-inch draw, he lost 15 feet. And he was like, there's got to be something wrong, and they tried another chrono, they did everything, and he verified it. It was like half an inch, they lost 15 feet per second. It was crazy. I think it was an experience. Don't totally quote me on that. Don't say I'm trying to trash Bowtech or anything.
I believe it.
I thought that was fascinating, because it's always been a written rule to me, 1 inch is 10 feet per second. It's just how it works, but apparently not.
But a lot of it depends on limb angles. So as you go into older bows, you start getting out of parallel.
Right.
And so now you change your draw length, or you change the poundage, and you're affecting more than just that one factor. And so then you start changing how much actual rotation is happening. And there's other factors at play that can cause larger changes.
Yeah, and I think, Rob, you and I have talked about this in the difference of the kind of force that's being applied, whether it's force through draw weight and raw mass that you are, well, it's not mass, I guess, but draw weight that you're pulling back versus an efficient cam system per se. A really fast cam in a 60-pound bow that might, if you have two bows that shoot the same arrow at the same speed, it's a completely different type of force being applied to it. If it's a 60-pound bow with a really fast cam versus an 80-pound bow with a really slow cam.
And the other part of that, which I saw again, I think yesterday, people talking about bow efficiency, and then talking about how they handle heavy arrows and going, oh, well, this bow doesn't gain as much. It's not as efficient. It's all backwards. Because the more efficient a bow is at IBO, the less you're going to gain. It's already efficient. You can't increase the efficiency beyond the point where your frictional losses are and your physical losses are. And that's one thing that I am looking forward to with your test, is the actual efficiency numbers. Having a force curve, calculating the area, knowing what the potential is, and then being able to look at how the efficiency changes from IBO up. Right. Because we were just talking about my Monster RX1 yesterday. And so that bow was throwing my 950 at 235.
Jesus.
Now,
I know.
Yeah, right. And so now my RX3 is both bows. I tested them. They were both within 1 foot per second of IBO rating. And the RX3 is on paper faster, right?
Mhm.
2 feet per second faster, I think. 340 versus 342. And the big difference, if you shot both of them, the RX3 has a lot less vibration, which is why I upgraded it. It was the one kind of downside I had with my RX1 was
Right.
it definitely had some vibe to it.
Oh yeah.
Now, here's the kicker. The RX3, less vibration, it's a more efficient bow.
Yeah.
Guess what? I lost 5 to 6 feet per second with my 950 grain arrow out of the same setup. Because the bow's already more efficient with a
Yeah.
light arrow, there's less room for growth.
I see what you're
So
saying.
now
Yeah.
my 950 is at 230 because it couldn't continue gaining. It peaked. It didn't not that it actually peaked, but its rate of growth was slower.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like it's a pet peeve of mine. Because people talk about efficiency and I'm going, that's not efficiency.
Well, I mean, I got to get a better way of describing that then, because I'm guilty of saying, well, you know, bows like heavier arrows more. Like you won't lose as much. Like it's
They certainly do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
certainly do.
Yep. And that's all bows are going to become more efficient with a heavier arrow.
right, and that's
It's
the
a
way I
matter
put
of
it.
it's a matter of if you've got a bow that's say, and these are just random numbers, but if you've got a bow that is 70% efficient at IBO, and then a bow that is 85% efficient at IBO, same specs, same IBO rating. As you go up in arrow weight, that bow that was 70%, guess what? It was losing 30% of its potential and was still matching the speed of the other one.
Yeah.
There was a lot of unused potential there.
Yeah. Untapped energy.
In my
So
Or
now,
lost energy, I guess you should say.
as you recover that, as you boost the efficiency through arrow mass, now you're starting to see its true potential. So that's like you look at the Oneida Eagles are a huge one for this. Those are slow bows, right? I mean, those are like they don't even give an IBO rating, but they're like 305 to 310. And yet you get them up into the like 10 to 12 grain per pound range, and they're showing double the kinetic energy growth as most of your normal compounds.
Yeah.
And it's because
Well, I think,
they're extremely inefficient with a light arrow. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. And all the time in comments and stuff, I have to explain to people why sometimes I'm getting above what they calculate as IBO on a heavy arrow.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's one of our
my 950 grain setup.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's one of our future YouTube videos. Spoiler alert, I guess. By the way, it's written on my whiteboard behind me in quotations. 390 IBO dart, because if you take my 975 grain dinosaur hunting arrows that I built for giggles, and you like plug it into an IBO calculator, you have to bump it up to a 390 IBO to hit the actual speeds that I'm hitting, because it's shooting 40 feet per second over what's estimated, because that's how much efficiency it is gaining on the top end. So
Interesting.
yeah. So anyway, all of that to say, you shoot way more bows than we do, I feel like. And we are basically at the point where everybody minus Expedition, who is tomorrow, which, by the way, did you see their promo? It looks awesome.
I haven't. I don't have anybody
dude.
close, man. I think it's Bend is the nearest one.
Gotcha.
Them
Well,
and
they came out with like a little like video. It's like literally 12 seconds long.
Oh, I think
But
Eric
it's-
sent me that.
Yeah, it's dope. It's really cool. It's a caged riser, and like the Nitram will forever sit close to my heart. So like anything that looks close to a Nitram, I'm like, I'm into that. And that's probably, Rob, while I was looking at the Expedite, I was like, oh man, I really like this bow. It's because it looks like a Nitram. So Expedition hasn't released theirs yet, which is tomorrow, and then Obsession hasn't released theirs yet, which we think is going to be at ATA, but we're not 100% sure. But outside of that, basically all the big players have released their bows, and you have done a video on basically all of them so far.
Well, minus the primes and
haven't
the
done prime
obsessions in the expeditions.
Yeah.
But I've my local dealer is an hour and a half away for prime. Bow Rack hates prime, so they don't carry it. And
Interesting.
Bend is my next, and I might be able to get Triple X to send me some primes if I beg and plead. But another one I want to try out is the Bear Cure. I wouldn't be surprised if in our little social experiment somebody picks it because the specs on it look pretty slick. But we'll see. I'm not like a total Bear hater. I think their big flagship one, they completely price themselves out of the market. No one's going to pay $1,500 for a Bear. Oh Jesus! I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah. That wasn't this year. That was last year's.
Oh, well. They can go pound sand for that. Is it an aluminum bow?
Yeah.
Yeah. They get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, you have shot basically every bow minus a prime, I guess, and the other ones that have come out. But our other Garrett has shot the prime, so there's that.
I did. Shot it yesterday.
Yeah. So we wanted to take a minute to kind of talk about bows, talk about the direction that we think they might be going, and kind of I've seen a lot of chit chat about people being upset about the lack of new technology, and kind of why that may be. So, I guess do you, out of what you have shot so far, what has impressed you the most?
That would be the Mach 1, PSE Mach 1, which is ironically the very first bow I shot all year.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
I literally just watched like literally 15 minutes before we pressed record. I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this review yet. And I clicked on it and I was like, holy crap,
that thing's shooting laser beams.
That thing is
sweet.
That thing is the bee's knees. And I hate it. I'm like, I hate shooting this bow first, because I'm going to forget about it. It's going to sleep on me. It's like being the first one in an elk calling competition from what I hear. And so, I keep going back to that one. And, this is me personally, but when I keep going back to a bow and I keep comparing everything to a bow, I know that's probably going to be the bow that I buy, and that has been the bow I've compared every other bow to this year, the Revolt X. I want to talk about that bow quite a bit. There's a lot to break down on that bow. And, one guy kind of left me it was a complete douchebag comment, but he's like, basically do your homework, you even touch about it, not having yokes. I'm like, well, I talked about how you don't need a bow press to tune it. I mean,
right.
Tomato, I don't know. Big pound sandwich for you, dude. But, basically I want to get into that bow because, that bow, I think this is where technology is going to go. It's going to be as much as a do-it-yourselfer in the future. We're going to have more tunable bows. We're going to have more adjustable bows without having to go into a shop. However, I believe that the marketplace, as there's a lot of podcasts out now. There's a lot of information if you want it. I still feel that people are their knowledge is lacking. If they treated their bow like they knew their rifles.
Oh. Yes, their knowledge is massively lacking.
Yeah,
we can attest to that.
Yeah, there's a huge gap there, and so even if they are coming out with this technology, where you don't need a bow press, it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 years or more for people to actually figure out, hey, if I loosen this Allen screw and then I tighten this one, it shims the cam over, and then I put it behind. Yeah, pretty much. So, if you're looking at the new Bowtech Revolt X and you can tune your bow with the bow press, I would keep your Realm X. If you are wanting to get into tuning your bow, and you're okay with losing about 5 feet per second, then do it, get it, buy it. If you don't have a bow press, I would get it because I don't have a bow press, but I have access to one, literally
right.
I could walk there in less than 5 minutes. So, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that because I really did like the Revolt X. I think Garrett might have been a little scared I was going to bash him because of my experience with the BTX this year.
No.
But,
That's one of the things that I like when you talk about stuff is that you're honest about it, and I am too. I mean, I shot that one yesterday too, and to me it was a Realmex without yokes. That was But I mean, so if you already have a Realmex, there's no reason to upgrade because it shoots the same, feels the same. Maybe a little quieter on the shot as far as like less
on it, without a press, right? That'd be the upside if you're someone that doesn't have a press.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's like I said, it might be a little bit better on the shot, but I mean, for what is it, $1,200, $1,100, you might as well keep your Realmex and just But like I said, if you're wanting to get your feet wet with tuning, and you want to find out, how to start learning, that's probably the easiest way to get into tuning your bow. And I'm a big fan of it. How often would you use that technology? Probably not very often.
No.
Set it and forget it.
Set it
you
and
don't
leave
have
it.
to,
they say
you don't
that.
have to use a shop that's worth their salt either, but once a year,
Yeah, well, they even have that, in their ads, like lock it and forget it or whatever, So we have this awesome technology that you're never going to use, but when you do need it, not once, a year or every 2 years, it'll be nice to have.
Or if something gets bumped or whatever,
Right.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like if God forbid you fly to Alaska and your bow gets jostled around by the guys making $8 an hour at the airport throwing your luggage around, then I mean, if you get there, like, what the hell do you do? But if you have a set of Allens on you, then that might save your ass. There's a good possibility.
None of that stuff should be moving regardless.
I mean, you would think.
Well, when I went to
where it could come in is if you're from a very dry environment and you go somewhere super humid and there's a big temperature swing and now you see some stretching because of the moisture, you haven't been waxing because you live somewhere where it's never humid.
Right.
And now you see some stretch and now your camling, your cable tension changes a little bit and now that changes. That's where, like, in my head, that's the only time that you'd need to adjust your cam position. Like,
yeah, I mean,
because
I'm sure we've all hunted
string stretch.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all hunted like different climates and stuff, especially you guys over east. You guys get some freaking cold weather, and I still haven't really had any tuning, issues. Even from like, I see your point, but at the same time, I've hunted in really big like climate changes. Yeah,
I was just saying that's the only thing that I can think as a potential.
Sure. Yeah,
right. Because I mean, even if your bow's, unless something breaks or you bend a cam, and at that point, guess what? Tuning it is not going to fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the functionality that you have there, it's for setup. Once it's set, unless the set screw comes loose and something moves, then there's really not a lot of field functionality there. Because it shouldn't I guess I can't think of any reason why your cam lean, your string position would change.
I mean,
even with the bow being bumped around.
I think of one other thing where it would help is for whatever reason, if you get to a place and you're in the middle of nowhere and all of at least I do, I buy all my broadheads online. So let's say for whatever reason I'm not shooting Valkyrie and I've just decided to shoot a different setup, but I get to where I'm at.
I'm telling Brent.
Yeah, but I get to where I'm at and then I smoke all my broadheads missing or something and I have to go buy different ones. Your bow should be tuned good enough you don't have to mess with anything.
Well, I mean,
but you might have to make a minute adjustment to accommodate a new head, or if you have to shoot something lighter, than you were shooting before, that that could come into play. And I know that's happened to people before. So
wasn't that a thing? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that a big thing for Elite? Probably more than 5 years ago now, probably like between 8 to 6 years ago. What's that?
It was their old hunt warranty. So if
they would like if your bow broke, they would send it to the closest like shop or dealer or whoever, and they would tune it to you. Like they would ask you like what your arrow is, tune it to your arrow, and then send it to you.
Yeah,
you would essentially get a new bow if it was if you had a warranted, so dry fire, non-user air, complete failure. You would essentially get a new bow.
I know a couple people that even they had user error and they still got
and
they just sent them a new one, which is good customer service. But
their warranty team was pretty lax.
Yeah, and that was also when they were trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah,
but
being asked.
Yeah.
Speaking of Elite, they did a lot of shit this year that I really liked. What is it? I haven't shot it yet, but I think it's the result. What
There's the cure and the result. The result is the longer one.
Okay. Yeah. Their changes in draw length adjustment I think are awesome.
Dude, that is the biggest thing from somebody. Sorry to cut you off, and I'm going to let you jump back in here, but that is the biggest thing from somebody who is just looking for a flagship bow for their wife, which we ended up getting a Realm, which is freaking unreal, by the way. My wife's setup is like
better than yours.
It's better than mine for sure. But looking for my wife's a 25-inch draw length, and there are a ton of bow, and like she cannot shoot a 25.5. Can't happen. Like we tried it with like multiple bows, couldn't do it. 25, good. 25.5, not good. And there were so many flagship bows that were available starting at 25.5 inches. And I'm like, we can't get it. And I've stumbled upon that Realm, those 25. I was like, oh, this is perfect. But I see a lot of people that are, either guys with really short arms or girls that are wanting to get into, more serious setups. And I think that Elite has just cornered the market on that with the cure, because it goes down to like a 23-inch draw, which is incredible. 23 to 30 inches, and it holds like a pretty decent IBO. Normally when you have real big gaps like that, they're slow, or it's just not a pleasant bow to draw or shoot. But I think the cure's done a good job there. But sorry to cut you off. Continue.
No, I mean I think I would be really interested in shooting that bow. It'd probably be, without even shooting it, it would be one of the new Elites, the Revolt X. I think that's what it is, the Revolt or whatever the hell they call it. Mm-hmm. And the Mach 1 being number one so far. And that is without shooting the new primes. However, which we can get into them, a 7-piece string.
We've talked about it so far.
That just
string makers are just licking their chops waiting for people who need new strings for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. And if anybody's ever shot or had a prime, I'm not a string expert, but I can tell you their string sucks balls. Like their factory strings, you might as well just floss with them.
You have to buy new strings, and I've seen people argue, "Oh, I've never had a problem with them." It's like, well,
how often do you shoot?
I question your ability to shoot then, or tune, because the ones I've had, I took them off immediately.
Yeah, and my experience with prime wasn't very good. I shot them the first year the Synergy came out, and I had 6 different issues with that bow, and they didn't take care of me at all. And so, I tell my experiences, and people may piss somebody off, but I'll give them another go, but with a 7-piece string, that is, I'm not buying that. And when I had problem with a 5-piece string system on their previous model, I'm sure as hell not buying that. And they did some great things this year. The modules, I think the switching to a module system was awesome. That's great. But
a rotating mod at that.
Yeah. And, I just
still took the poor soul that was adjusting the one I shot yesterday, like a good 15, 20 minutes to figure it out. I'm like, dude, do you want me to do it for you?
That's funny. Mine was, I don't know, 1/4 inch outside of center shot, and I was shooting every arrow I wanted, like it was just hammering. But
Yeah.
it would just look funny when your arrow's pointing like to the left and you're aiming. Yeah, it just looks really funny. But that bow is the way that bow wanted set up, and I couldn't find anybody because I don't know how to tune a prime worth anything, and then no one here locally could really tune them that well either. The bow shop down south, Scott, he can tune them, but they're going to be outside. He tunes them to where they're outside. So
I had to tune mine way, like to get it to shoot well, I had to take it way out of center shot, and I didn't care for that.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you shouldn't have to shim it. I'm like, well, I either need to shim it or I got to do something because it's just not working.
Yeah, I mean,
the
mine
string
was
is not pushing through the center right now.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't how this is supposed to work, guys.
Yeah, I mean, mine was.
You
That's
should
the
be
most
able to-
accurate bow I've ever owned. Period.
Mine hammered with field points. Like I could shoot lights out target wise, but couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with broadheads. So
Really?
it didn't do me any good.
Yeah, mine was shooting 5 different heads out of the same arrow, and I could shave veins with any head I tested. It shot out to 50, 60
It's not
yards.
possible. That's
That's
not possible.
That's impossible. But yeah, and especially when you're that far outside of center shot.
Yeah.
It just
Well,
is
Well,
like,
I mean,
what?
that tells you. I mean, and we've talked about this before with tuning, but it's you can get perfect arrow flight in a lot of different ways. Some of them are very unconventional and are going to be less efficient and potentially cause more wear long term on the bow.
Oh yeah.
But that's like I forget who did the video for Bishop a couple years ago where they're shooting long range, and the guy had that 600 grain broadhead on the front of a 400 spine, and
My goodness.
was launching them and hitting his spot at like 80 or 90 yards.
Was it Lusk?
Like,
Lusk Archery Adventures?
I think so.
He does a
I
lot
think
of
it was him.
reviews for broadheads.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you could
he's
see-
like he's BFFs with the Bishop guys.
Yeah. And that you could see in the video, like when the camera went to the right angle, how far out of whack that rest was.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
I remember this video. Okay.
but
Yeah. I
It
remember
was shooting clean.
Yep.
Like that guy made it work, right? It's not that, with how the shaft was flexing, with how it was reacting out of the bow, that's where it wanted the mass for that tail to just drop in line and go.
Yep.
And is it right? No, but it worked.
Yeah.
That's all I
So,
really care
okay,
about.
so-
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. If it works. So okay, so Garrett, so your 3 would be the Cure, the Mach 1, and the Revolt X are going to be your 3 picks from this
That's
year.
that's without shooting the new Bear, and without shooting the new Elites. But the Prime shootability wise, I'm sure they are a sweetheart, and I'm sure they aim. But
I do like how like it feels like a prime, I guess. You've shot one, so you know how they feel good when you draw them and shoot them. They still have the same sound. I wish that they'd go to an aluminum
kinda like-
string stop, but
Twang. Like,
yeah, it's like a
they've
twang
got a
kind of
sound
punky
to it.
sound.
did you ever hear one that sounded like a tuning fork? Have you
Yeah.
guys ever heard that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Oh
well,
my god! I
mine-
saw a guy. I could hear it 100 yards away. I'm not
Oh,
even
yeah.
kidding. Wang, wang,
Holy
wang, wang.
crap.
It's like, what the hell is that? Yeah,
Yeah.
Dude, I'd
I
never
remember
heard anything in my life
that
like that
was-
before.
that was honestly my first exposure to a prime. I
Mine
was
too.
at a 3D event
That's
and I heard this shot go off. I just heard this like twang.
Yep.
And I'm like looking around like, what just broke? Like that sounded horrid. And all of a sudden I see this guy shoot again and I'm like, what are you shooting? Like, oh my God.
Yesterday, I was shooting the Black 5, and there was a dude that was in there shooting like a 3-spot round or something just by himself, and I commented, like we had talked back and forth a little bit, and I commented on how it still had that prime sound. I was like, "Yep, sounds like a prime." He was like, well, first off, this dude was shooting he was shooting a PSE of some sort, but every arrow was entering the target at 20 yards at a different angle.
Oh,
Like,
perfect.
what in the hell is? I mean, he was shooting okay, but like His
There's some
arrow play
problems.
was
You got to keep them
atrocious.
guessing.
Yeah. And then and his shot execution was awful. So I mean that probably didn't help his case. But then I was talking to him a little bit. I was like, "Yep, sounds like a prime." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's because it's got the split bus cables and blah blah." I'm like, "Well, that's pretty sure that's not it, but maybe part of it. It's just the tone. Like it's I don't know. Did you ever shoot the Bowtech Assassin
Me? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
or
no.
been around
Yeah.
somebody that has one?"
Mm-mm.
Like
I'm sure I
the-
have, but I couldn't recall.
Well, like I attribute the sound is the same. Like they have that weird. It's just a different. I think it's just
It's
a
a
different
different
tone that
sound.
your
Yeah.
ears just pick it up versus
Yeah.
the other ones where they don't have that. But
Yeah.
sounds the same and it draws nice. Like I do like the the cable stops on the primes are growing on me for whatever reason.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I mean they're I think they make a good bow, and I'm sure they're a good company. But I want to see a different string system before I start buying one. And
yeah,
maybe
I don't trust.
Yeah.
Well, first, like even so, Austin makes strings for both of us. He makes some
Mhm.
damn good strings, but
He won't make strings for me, the son of a
he might this time. He might now. He's taking more orders, I think. But
he
don't quote
is.
me on
Yeah, he told me he's like I'm not coming back on the show until I get caught up.
that. But yeah, so he makes great strings, and I've never had a set move before. I know you had some problems with the Hoyt, but I think that was more the Hoyt than the string set or
Me-
something.
Me?
Yeah, wasn't your RX1 giving you all sorts of problems
Oh, dude, yeah.
before Africa?
I forget what it was going on. It was doing some weird stuff. I didn't shoot that turbo worth a damn. I just, I tried. I wanted to. I mean, there were certain days where it'd be great, and then it was just I couldn't pull hard enough. It seemed like, and
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
anyways.
Yeah,
Austin makes great strings, but
He does.
as soon as I those pictures got leaked like 2-3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
2 weeks ago because it was the last time
Yeah.
I tried to record. But the pictures got leaked, and then as soon as I saw it was a 7-piece string set because they added the cable yokes in too, I sent it to Austin. I was like, "You ready to make a bunch of money and hate your life?" He's like, "Oh God, no! Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do that." I just
Well,
don't
and
I don't trust that bow to go into the backcountry with it because if something moves, you're not going to be able to chase it down and fix it.
Well, and that's honestly my issue, and honestly, like my one concern with my Hoyt,
Yeah.
is the more string pieces you have. I mean, every piece always has the potential to have a weak spot in a couple of strands.
Yep.
Or, that
Especially,
chance is always there.
Especially
You
when
know,
It's kind of the same reason or the same what train of thought we have with our arrow component systems or
Yeah.
broadheads.
I mean, that's-
less parts equals less things that can break.
I mean, the most stable string sets I have ever dealt with are binaries.
Yeah.
3-piece. Like everything is
Binaries.
served. There's no half sec, there's no, splitting your strands. Like those are some of the most stable sets and able to take the most abuse.
Garrett,
right?
you were so fired.
I know.
You are turning into the new plane. I'll say it.
I'll just fire myself.
But
But yeah,
there's ups and downs.
A binary cam system in a single color will be the most stable that you can
regardless, right? And so that's where like I like yokes, and you can still have a yoke system in a 3-piece, right? And like my Hoyt is 4-piece. My brain's not working. I gotta
Yeah,
think.
it should be 4 because it's
Yeah,
got
4
4
piece.
on the
Yeah,
bottom.
'cause it's got the floater on the bottom. And like that's still been very stable for me, but I've noticed that like if I'm in my rhythm and I'm in my practice routine and leagues and everything else, that stuff isn't staying set as long as I would expect from some of the other bows I've ran.
Mhm.
But I mean, I normally am replacing a set of strings by the time they're 9 months old. I'm typically ordering by the time they're 9 months old.
Right.
And it's like going to a 7-piece, like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
sad
a
when
lot.
they come out with such an awesome bow, but yet a string is preventing 4 people on this podcast from buying it. Because if it was a
Well, I wouldn't say that. So okay, so I'll give my 3. I'm going to be the black sheep. Strings be damned. So and maybe this will Rob and or Garrett, if you need to get your list together, I'll buy you some time right now because I'm about to rattle off mine. On paper, I think the Black 5 looks like the best bow this year. I mean, a 35-inch ATA, which I'm a fan of, up to 80-pound limbs, 343 IBO. Now, obviously, it has to actually hit these specs for me to continue to think this. But that and between 65 and 90% let off, like that sounds incredible. And especially, I think that is a very versatile bow for somebody like, I mean, I'm 5'6" on a good day. And, so a super long bow, isn't something that I necessarily I'm dying for, but if you're a bigger guy, you need the string angle, or at least it's helpful, in my humble opinion. So the more that I look at new bows, the more I'm like, yeah, if it's super short, I'm not really into it. Because my Darton, which I'm not going to get rid of ever, probably.
Yeah, I might buy another one of those actually.
Dude, I'm about to. Dude, it's so fast. So
and it just shoots like a dream.
Dude, it's such a good bow.
If you need a good backup, buy a Darton Maverick 2.
Maverick 2. You can find them all day for like $400 now. They're just freaking lights out. They don't move ever.
That's the only bow that I've been able to shoot a bare shaft accurately to 70 yards.
Holy smokes.
No problem.
Yeah. They're something else. Anyway, so I think the Black 5 on paper is the best looking bow so far. I also really like the Cure. And note, I haven't shot any of these yet, so shootability, take that with a grain of salt. But the Cure definitely has piqued my interest. It's basically a 32. It's like 31 and 7/8, I think. Over 6.5 inch brace. Like I mentioned before, draw length dropped all the way down to 23, which I think is pretty cool. Holds a pretty steady elite 335 IBO, and elite's pretty, they don't really fib those numbers too much, I don't feel like. 70-90% let off, and the two big things, obviously the ability to shift the limb pocket, I guess, to line up. I mean, I guess that seems cool, but I think the 1/4 inch draw increments is pretty neat as well, without having to mess with your stops and really, really tune it in. I think the Cure looks like a really nice bow that definitely interests me. I guess like I said, I'm just kind of in the longer ATA kind of shop now, I guess, because the more I'm starting to venture into 3D stuff, the more I'm maybe we should just shoot the most accurate bows possible, and those tend to be longer ATA bows, which is kind of wild.
Forget about the speed chase and go for consistency.
Yep, and my last bow kind of falls exactly into that. Would probably be the Evo NXT 35. I know you gave a review on that one, right? I'm pretty sure, 99% sure.
I believe so. Yeah.
Almost a 7-inch brace. Goes to 70 pounds. A very, very underrated 320 IBO. From what I remember from your video. And 30. I mean, I really like the longer axle to axle. So those would probably be my top 3 right now if I were to buy a new bow. I think anyway.
Yeah, I shot the 33 and the 31. I did not shoot.
You didn't. Oh yeah, you didn't shoot 35 yet. That's right.
But with the PSEs, and we can hit on the PSEs here too, and this will segue great into another area that I was wanting to cover is what kind of new technology are we going to see? Some things that I've seen is guys are making their risers. Or putting cool things in their risers. So PSE put a bottom mount for their stabilizers. Now, which I don't know why no one thought of that earlier. That's a really cool idea. It really does change the feel of the bow.
Oh, you mean the front?
The front,
Yeah.
the front bottom.
Yeah.
A
lower.
Bowtech has the ones in the back, but not the front.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. And it did change the feel of it for sure. And then you have Bear's level and theirs, and then you have APA, which for quite a few years, I believe, anyways, they've had those like Allen or those broadhead wrench and kind of tools built into their riser kind of thing. And so I think you're going to continue to see these in Matthews with that. I almost called it stupid. That cable thing.
The bow hanger. God.
Yeah. I don't want to be
I don't see how that's
negative there, but
It's okay. Here, I will be negative for
like
you.
how
It's
that
stupid.
was
It's
that-
stupid.
the Silent
that was
Connect
one of their.
system, I should say.
I just enjoy that was one of their main selling.
That's a
points now.
selling
and
point.
people are buying it. Like they're buying into it. They're like, "Oh wow, that's so neat!" Like, what?
Yeah.
You can't tie a. First off, they're selling you $10 worth of paracord and heat shrink for how much is it? $60, and that's a generous estimate of $10. More like $5.
Yeah, I was gonna
Because
say I can buy
Matthews on the
50.
heat
I can
shrink
buy
portion.
50 feet of paracord for $5 at Walmart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
If you buy the bow, do you get
so-
the paracord for free?
I don't think so. I think you
No?
also have to pay for the extra little attachment
That's
too.
crazy. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I think you're going to continue to see these little gadgets and twerks to these bows because they're running out of ideas. They're running out of performance with the current way that we understand bows.
Yep.
And I'm optimistic. I say this when people ask me, "Do you think the bows can get any faster?" I believe they can get a hell of a lot faster. We just haven't thought of a way to do it yet. I'm completely
Yep.
optimistic. Do I know how or when or why or what? No, I'm not an engineer, but I do believe that someone will, pun intended, reinvent the wheel, and somebody will come out with a groundbreaking, like a dart-sized invention.
I am still waiting. 2 years ago, when Gearhead was just kind of getting started, if you know that company, the little tiny bows.
The tiny,
they make the crazy looking bows. Yeah.
TRX or
Yep.
the T, whatever their T series bows. Whatever.
Well, they have the T20, the T18, T20, T24, and then they came out with they had a 30 and a 35, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like true cage riser, like it's like 30 layer carbon sheet that's then machined. It's like the most rigid system you can get. But their cam design, this is probably 2-3 years ago at ATA, there was all these rumors floating around that like 3 different major bow companies were trying to buy them in order to have access to that cam. And it's because of their helicoil patent. So the way that they get their I'm switching this around. Sorry. There was talk about them merging with Raven because that would get them the draw length. I switched it.
Oh,
Raven has the helicoil cam.
Okay.
But if you've looked at those crossbows, the cam can rotate like an extra like 30 or 40 degrees compared to any other cam on the market because the cables actually helicoil wrap more than 360 on the cam, like around the axle. So now where does your leverage come from? Where does the performance jump come from where you're taking, the effort that you're putting into it and then getting more out? It's from the cam design.
Yeah, if it
And
does
it's
more
from the
work than you
rotation.
put into it. Yeah.
Right? So now you look at what happens when you add rotation to a leverage system. So like on like a pulley system, you go from a single coil to a 5 coil. Like you look at a hoist.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can lift 100 pounds with 5 pounds of effort.
Mm-hmm.
So now put that on a bow. Like, I mean, they're getting 440 out of their crossbows with a shorter power stroke than a lot of other crossbows.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Huh. Yeah, see, I'm
Now,
an optimist.
I
I think stuff like that there is going to spill over. I think it's
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna happen. I think that string materials need to make a jump before things
That
get
makes
too
sense.
crazy,
Yeah.
because the stresses. I mean, we've already seen this in the last 5-6 years that like guys used to never change strings. I mean,
I think we
10,
need
15 years ago, guys just shot their bow. And like now we're replacing strings every year.
I think
There's more
that's
stress.
also more stress, but I mean, my strings
We're also
don't.
pickier.
Yeah, mine don't need replaced after a year. I just
Well,
do it.
as soon as stuff
but
starts moving, that's
I-
my sign that it's time to move.
Yeah, I mean, I get mine made with 452X, so it doesn't like mine fuzz way worse than like too bad, quote unquote, too bad, and that's
Yeah.
why I usually replace them.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
I'd like them to come out with a. I mean, it might exist. I just don't know, but I'd like there to be a string material that doesn't fuzz as bad, doesn't move, but has some give, so it's not as stressful on the bow itself.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the fine line, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I think that's a big reason why you see bows have limbs going anyways, is just that like 452X does not move. Like there's no give
There's not
whatsoever.
a lot of
So,
shock absorption.
yeah, it's just a
in
hard
these
stop.
things.
And it's like, oh, well,
yeah.
Does that make it vibrate more than other strings? Because there's
I mean,
no
I
give
don't-
on it.
I don't notice it, but maybe.
That's
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it would probably depend on your setup.
Yeah, that's a question for Austin because he would know.
Yeah.
We need to get Austin and Evan both on here to talk strings.
Yeah.
And then I
There you
would
go.
just not talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Austin,
yeah, I would.
man,
I
when
would
he starts
listen.
talking, I just like preach, brother. Like, I teach
You're
me
like, oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
But-
that's when Evan's another buddy of ours, and he was kind of semi-locally to me, and I've talked to him about strings a couple times. And when he talks about strings, it's probably how other people feel when we start talking about arrows. Like my eyes glossed over, and I was like, I don't understand anything that you're saying.
Right.
So
When he starts talking strings, he's like, "Hey, you want this?" I'm like, "Dude, you just whether it's
just
experimental,
make
yeah.
it the best.
You know, there's been multiple times he's like, you can't tell anybody what this is made of. I'm like, dude, I already forgot what you know, like just
Like, I don't-
whatever. Like he just like just
Like,
let me
did
know
you
how
tell
it
me what
does.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, did you tell me what it's made of? Because I
Yeah. How is this
Made of
new and why?
Unobtainium, if you ask me.
Yeah, you know, I'm one of the I think his guinea pigs for new strings, and I've never had a string on my bow of his that I didn't like or get
That's
better
awesome.
accuracy out of. And
Yeah.
I think I gained on a lot of the strings. I've gained 1 to 2 feet per second with his strings. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Plug for Austin. Shout out High Voltage Bowstring.
Yeah, absolutely. What's his string company name again? I can't remember.
yeah.
high
It's,
voltage custom bow
High
string.
voltage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Well, he doesn't take orders from me, and I'm the host, so God forbid anyone else be able to get them. But now that Evan's no longer making strings, Austin will be getting my business if he decides he wants to take my money. So, Austin, if you're listening, then
I should text
still
him like, hey, we're
upset
talking
with
shit about you on
didn't do it earlier.
podcast right now.
That's right. Garrett,
So-
Rob, either of you have
Yeah.
a 3?
So I haven't shot a ton of stuff yet. I've just been swamped lately, but I had a couple of minutes and I swung into the shop earlier tonight, and knowing, I guess the tech changes, knowing the, I guess specs, God, why am I blanking now? The Cure Elite.
Yep, that's their
Yeah.
their shorter
Yeah.
hunting bow. Yeah.
Yep. That one definitely caught my eye. And we kind of touched on this before with like the numbers aren't everything. Like I picked it up and I immediately was like, I would shoot this. Just
Yeah.
the feel, how the grip fits my hand is a big part. I liked how it felt in my hand. I liked if I held it out, how it kind of balanced. And knowing Elite, it's going to shoot clean. So that one has my attention. The Revolt X, kind of same thing. And I've been a fan of the Realm series since it came out. I had a Rain, and then I played with the Realm, and like I like that platform, and this seems very familiar with that, like you guys kind of touched on before. I guess Matt, like you mentioned, the Evo NXT 33 had, I think you said 35, but the 33 I like just from I love the Evolve Cam. I like 33-inch bows. 35 I don't mind, but like my sweet spot, if I had to pick a number for a hunting bow, and I mean my hunting bow I always shoot 3D with anyway. But it'd probably be 33 for whatever reason. I've really liked the 33s that I've shot before. So
right
those are for new bows what has caught my eye. The Black 5, I mean, numbers wise, yes, 100%.
I'm telling you, it looks incredible.
I know from shooting primes before, I don't necessarily like setting them up. I don't like how many strings they have, and I haven't been a huge fan of how they felt on the shot, and like the noise, the sound, which again is preference. But on paper, that bow looks amazing if it actually hits numbers.
There is a Prime dealer relatively close to me, so I might try and go shoot that.
I've got one close to it. I'm in the heart of my hunting right now.
Yeah, me too.
And
that's
so I've been gone every weekend since the end of October, and I'll be gone starting on Friday for like 9 days hunting. And so once that's all done, once we get into December, then I'm going to go start playing. But honestly, I mean, and Matt, you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit. If I was going to pick up a new bow, it probably wouldn't be a 2020.
Yep. I would agree. Well, you know what's goofy? When I look at the specs on this bow, minus the brace height, this is almost identical to my bow.
Yeah.
The one that you're about to mention, by the way.
I've played with this bow before. I should have bought my buddy's when he messed his shoulder up and decided to sell. But I have wanted to pick up Expedite from PSE for a couple of years. And like, I know that we've talked about like not chasing speed, but I shoot heavy bows. I shoot very heavy arrows, and I have never, my E35 that I picked up used this last spring is the first bow that I've owned over a 6-inch brace height. So I am not adverse to short brace heights. It's normal for me. It's not twitchy. It's not, unforgiving, because it's all I've ever known. Like that's what I have always shot 3D with. It's what I've shot spots with. That's what I've shot. And I've shot a couple of 5-inch brace height bows. So having something that's a little over 5, but that's a powerhouse is very tempting, because I would probably pick that up in 80 pounds and then probably do the fast mod at 70 to 75% let off. And I would not be at all surprised if my 950s were north of 250 feet per second. And that just sounds completely stupid. and I can probably pick one up for a really good price. So
Yeah, probably.
since I'm not actually with the shop that I helped run anymore, I can't get shooter price, staff price for any of the manufacturers this year.
Yeah.
So
Well, I want Garrett to give his 3, and then I want to talk about price for like just a hot minute.
yeah,
And especially compared to the used market right now, because we've kind of been sending a couple messages back and forth in our group chat on Facebook, and what people dump last year's bows for is just
oh my God.
insane. It's absolute insanity, but I don't want to get into it just yet.
Yeah, so I've got a comment on that once we get to it. So I'll save it. Garrett, go ahead.
Fairchild, any thoughts on bows from you?
Yeah. So if I were buying a new bow,
Which do you think you're just going to keep your Realm X?
I'm definitely gonna keep that. But given this new information that the Mach 1 is available in 80 pounds, I might have just gotten poor.
Oh, shut up! Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
I don't.
Which is also tempting. I like that bow.
The one thing that I'm not sold on yet, like I need to actually shoot it, but I'm not sold on the 32 and an 1/8 inch axle to axle. But my bow now is 33 and something, and I like it a lot. So I mean, and the Mach 1 has a longer riser, I think, than my Realm X does. I'd have to.
it's a 32 and an 1/8. Oh,
that's
riser,
right.
riser.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the
yeah,
riser.
actual.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I feel like if that one shot well, that would be my number one, especially given how fast it was slinging a 600 plus grain arrow at 60 pounds.
Yeah, it was a 60-pound bow they're shooting.
Yeah.
Right, Garrett? You might correct me if I'm
The
wrong.
Mach 1 was at 60, yeah.
And
Yeah,
you were
okay.
shooting what, 600 grains at like 240 something?
Ooh, I honestly, I don't remember.
I feel like that's what at 30 inches. I think that's what it was. But yeah,
I've
It was
shot too many.
it was fast.
zooming.
It was definitely
It was
eyebrow
enough-
raising.
Yeah, it was
I
enough for me to
remember.
go, hold up, what?
Yeah, a lot of guys
Yeah.
are like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, well, they didn't fudge the numbers. They actually went under a little bit, probably this year, but yeah.
Oh yeah, they were. I think all the PSEs are way under what they list them as.
Mhm.
But my Realm X with everything I have on it is kind of a boat anchor. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So I do like I don't know. I also shot Austin's Carbon Stealth last year, and that I really like that bow.
That's with
But
the old
as far as
handle.
like,
That's with the old handle too. They changed the grip
yeah,
on it.
Yeah.
we've talked about that before. I don't mind that because I have a big palm, so like it sits pretty good for me. But so yeah, that one's definitely on my radar. But since I shot the Revolt X yesterday, like I bought a new bow for the first time in 10 years at least last year, and that was shooting the Realm X. So I'd say that one would be my number one, just especially if I'm like going off of somebody that likes to do stuff myself and I don't always have access. I mean, I have access to a bow press, but not everywhere I am. So like,
Right.
that one is definitely that one's on the list of 3. And then I didn't shoot the Elite yesterday, but it was there. I just didn't shoot it because I didn't feel like it. But for just the tunability of the Bowtex and the Elites, like those two would be on my list if I were buying one myself.
You were searching. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because, like, I mean, even guys that, like, once guys find us or find the Facebook groups we're in or whatever, or a lot of guys that live in Oregon, like until last year, we couldn't shoot mechanicals, so we couldn't hide our tuning issues. So, like, and then you have shops, like what I'd say there's 3 shops in Oregon that I'd trust to tune my bow. And I've been to all of them. But other than that, I don't trust anybody to touch my stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, and then, I do know how to tune a bow, and sometimes I still have issues with some of the manufacturers. So it's just like, well, what would I choose? I'm not going to choose the Prime because there's just too much. For me, there's too much to go wrong. I could shoot that bow the best as possible, like better than anything I've ever shot before, and I don't know that I'd trust it, like packing it around for a whole season, just because I don't trust something to not move.
Sure.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Mach 1, the Revolt X, and then the Elites, the new Elites.
Yeah, very similar to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something interesting I'm looking at right here. It's actually a little bit of humor behind it. I put up a poll on my YouTube channel 3 days ago saying, and I ran out of polling options, but I had, who's liking the bows so far. Who you got. Matthews, Hoyt, Elite, Bowtech, PSE. I couldn't fit Prime or anybody else on there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 3 days ago. Okay. That is a day before the Matthews came out. And Matthews was in second place.
Fanboys much? My goodness.
I do have to say, like, if Matthews comes out with a switch weight traverse style bow or like a 33 to 35 inch axle to axle later, I'd try it because I really liked how that traverse draws. Like, it's super smooth. But
rumor has it that they're going to release a longer bow at ATA. But I've also heard that heard that exact rumor about Matthews before, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think they did that last year though with the traverse. They didn't release that one at the same time as or did they?
Oh, really? Okay.
Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But
I think I remember hearing that about when they released the Halon 32, they said that like a Halon 35 was going to be coming at ATA, and then it never did.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably also go on how well the first ones they release are going to sell, whether they bother.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, there's 251 votes here, and Hoyt got 34%, Bowtech got 27, Matthews got 18, Elite got 10, PSE got 10. So
interesting.
People are sleeping on PSE, and I don't know why. I mean, they were pretty bad for a long time there. Like,
well,
I had more
they
of
got
them.
a bad rep because they were sold anywhere. Like, you could,
Well, I mean, even there, you couldn't buy their Pro Series bows anywhere.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, I think this is the same battle the Bear is fighting. Like, Bear's flagship might be an awesome bow, but the fact that I can walk into Cabela's or Bass Pro or Gander Mountain, are they even still a thing?
Anywhere that
anywhere
has no clue what they're talking about.
Right. And they'll tell you why that Bear is an awesome bow. I'm just like, all the credibility's gone.
Yeah.
But if it was sold by somebody locally that's reputable that I knew, I'd be like, okay, I'll give this a shot. But
G4 actually does carry Bear.
Yeah.
I don't even know who G4 is.
That's the local shop to us, or to me.
Oh, gotcha.
One of the ones I trust, one of the three.
Gotcha.
That's where I bought my bow last year, but they do carry they carry a lot of brands now. They carry PSE, Bowtech, Expedition, Bear, one other one. I don't know. They have a lot of stuff, but they're primarily Bowtech. But
yeah. Well, Bowtech's big in Oregon because they're from Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just an hour,
Eugene.
20 minutes. The factory, I could be there an hour and 20 minutes.
There, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Garrett. Like, I think a lot of people are sleeping on PSE. I think PSE is on the podium this year. I mean, well, did all of us pick up PSE? I think we did. Yeah,
I think we all had the 33.
I do want to try the NXT 35 just to see. Like, I want to try the aluminum bow to see if it's gonna be similar and like faster than they advertised.
Well, I can honestly say that my Evoke 31 shoots good enough. It's a little bit stiffer and just a little bit less nice to shoot. A little bit less. That I would keep it over the new NXT series.
Gotcha.
Me personally, but I like the 31 to 33 ATA range. And it's kind of funny if you look at the specs on that Mach 1. I was saying before the new bows came out, I'm like, I hope there's like a 31 to 33 inch ATA, 6 to 6.5 inch brace height, and this and that and that. And then the Mach 1 came out, and it literally was like right in the middle of everything. Check. Yeah, and I was like, I might look like an idiot on this one if I don't like this bow, but I mean, I think a lot of guys won't even try it, and that's just a shame. But
well, I think that's where we, everybody wants speed. I think that's. I mean, I think fine. I like the fact that PSE was finally like, you know what, fuck it, we don't care. Just shoot our bow. If you shoot it, you're gonna like it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But getting people to shoot it is gonna be the uphill battle.
Yeah, and Bears had.
Well,
good,
that was Elite's thing forever, right? It was like
Well,
the specs don't look impressive, but like just shoot it, like just shoot it and see what you think.
Synergy after having all of the other, like they had faster bows for a long time there, and then they dropped the synergy, and everybody's like, ugh, what is this?
Yeah,
But then they shot it, and they sold like
that
hotcakes.
synergy.
They're so smooth.
God,
that was a game changer.
We could not keep those in stock. Like even when like the last year was available, we sold more synergies than any of the new for that year elites.
yeah.
Like, and then they discontinued it, and we're like, what are they doing? Like, they got rid of the only bowls that sold.
Well, okay, so that's a good segment. Is the prices of new bows versus the used bow market right now, so one manufacturer that we haven't mentioned here so far is Darton. They haven't released new stuff yet. They haven't even teased that they're going to have new stuff. So I don't know when and or if that's going to happen. But well, I take that back. They did release one new one, which is what I was going to touch on very briefly. It looks like it's I think it's called the DS 3500. It looks like the 3800, but it's
that was new.
It's 35.
It's 35. It's the quote unquote 3500, but it's a brand new bow with like pretty good specs on it. I think it's like a 335 IPO, and a brand new bow is going to be $399. So it's a really cheap bow. Point being, I think that if Elite, and I know this would like, there's a lot of politics if they go into dealers and like undercutting their other stuff and stuff like that, but I think if Elite it came out with, if they redid the E35 and they were like, we're just going to make the E35 again and we're going to sell it for $499, like that's it. I think people wouldn't be able to keep them on the shelf. I really don't. I mean, I know right now they go for used for. Yeah, well, I mean, I know they go used for like $300 right now, and I know there's that one guy online that sells them. He I don't know what he does to get so many of them for so cheap, but he sells them online, supposedly brand new for like $350 shipped or something. Like it's just stupid cheap. Like it sounds like they fell off the back of a truck. Is what it sounds like. But he sells them that cheap. But I think if a manufacturer would come out with like a kind of, didn't Expedition did that last year, right? They
did that with the Turmoil.
Was it okay?
Well, the IBO bow that was $700 or $600.
Well, I think tried it with the Enlist, but that was just a re-released answer, and that one wasn't one that people really liked.
Yeah, but it was still like $800, wasn't it? It was like $799,
$699.
Was it okay? It was
$699?
Yeah, it was, and that was a setup bow. Like it was.
Okay.
And I mean, now keep in mind that was when their top tier, their flagships were $1,200-$1,300.
Yeah. Did they drop back down now? Are they like reasonable again? Are they $1099?
The
Cure.
That,
I think the Cure is a $1099
like grand or a $1099.
Okay.
Bow, I think.
But anyway, so the used price market, like right now, if you go on any of the Hoyt groups, you can find RX3s for, what were we getting prices at the other day? $800.
I think for $800. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like why? And I'm not picking on Hoyt here because it holds the same across the board. But Hoyt is a good example because their bows new are $1,600.
Yeah.
But why would I spend double when it's basically the same technology? Like there hasn't between these two generations, the RX3 and the RX4, there wasn't like a massive jump.
No, exactly. And that's I upgraded from the 1 to the 3 because I thought the feel improved a lot.
Sure, yeah, and that's totally
like
fine.
The 4,
and you get it at
a
discount.
Really, I mean, I got it at staff price, so that helps regardless. That's also why. Like when I sold my RX1, I sold that for $800.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I paid,
But that's
on retail for
I
my
bought it for 600.
right.
So at that point, I was giving someone a steal, and I still was gonna have a little bit of money left over after buying the new one.
Yeah,
Right.
So
I paid full blown retail for my Realm X, which is probably one of the main reasons why I wouldn't get rid of it, is because I couldn't sell it loaded for what I paid for it bare. So
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
but if I hold on to it
that's-
for a couple years, if people don't end up liking this Revolt or whatever they come out with next, like I can probably sell that. You know, I'll still be able to sell that Realm X for $600.
Kind of like a
people
Spider
want it
Turbo
again.
or a Spider Carbon. Those bows were really popular, and they're still going for an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Carbon spiders go for crazy amounts. A buddy of mine picked one up for a really good price, and I was like, "Yeah, I hope you realize that you basically stole that thing because it's like because no one wants to pay for their new carbon bows, so everyone's going out and looking for carbon spiders." And it's a carbon spider turbo. And then I ran into another buddy of mine that bought a carbon spider turbo with 80-pound limbs.
Jesus.
And I was like, "Oh, hello." So it was pretty slick. But yeah, I think when it's just hard for me to justify when I look at I have bought one bow like brand new, quote unquote, and I say that in quotes because it was right when the Defiant came out, so the Nitrums were going on clearance, and I picked up my Nitrum Turbo for probably below cost, to be honest. But that's the only bow I've bought, quote unquote, new. And when I look at costs for new bows versus like now, I would look at the Realm X versus the Revolt X. I'd be like, oh, like
all day.
I've got a shop right next to me that like I would trust with, you know, they have a press. I would trust them. Like I'll just buy the Realm X for $400 cheaper and do that instead.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing you mentioning cost, I guess I want to at least just mention this for the listeners. So, I mean, shops are not really making money on bows. So like mentioning that I paid, $600 for that RX1. That is well below cost.
That's below.
The staff program.
Yeah.
I mean,
you pay
on those Hoyts that are $1,600.
Yeah, if you can go straight through the manufacturer, you pay pennies for those bows. Which is nice if you're
like your dealers.
Yeah, your dealers
are still paying. I mean, that's like when they do these like end of year sales, they're essentially liquidating.
Yeah.
And just going, I mean, I don't care if I lose a little bit of money. I need the shelf space and I need to clear my overhead in order to afford the small mortgage I need to buy all these new flagships.
Yeah. The markup's similar to guns. I mean, they're not making, if they make a couple $100,
your that's what money is in the accessories and the labor.
Yeah, labor primarily.
Primarily, and
you don't sell too much. But
as we kind of mentioned before, as bows become easier and easier to work on, I'm not sure where you're going to go to buy them.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all this. I think that might have been what Weaver was getting at earlier. Is that like there's all this new technology, but there's still a pretty steep learning curve to know how to.
Oh yeah, and that's
people are still dumb.
Yeah,
they will always be dumb.
There will probably be an influx in shop work because people will mess with it and screw things up.
Yeah.
Once they figure it out, then you'll see the drop.
Yeah.
But there's definitely going to be that curve. People are going to be tweaking stuff that they have no idea and going, I don't know why this thing's not shooting.
Yeah. And then they bring it in and they've got one limb pocket's clear to the left, the other one's clear to the right. It's like, wow, no, that would be why.
This is a problem.
You turned one the complete wrong direction.
Yeah.
Not sure how it was coming out of the bow at all, to be honest.
So Matt, were you wanting to do this mystery bow?
Kind of like, well, I would like to, in addition to that, I just wanted to note like real quick that when I look at all of these bows, and maybe I'm just like ignorant to bows in the past, but I feel like I'm seeing a lot more bows that are north of 33 axle to axle, and in comparison to what we had before. And now I know that these manufacturers have been on like a little recent kick lately to put out 28-inch bows and, you know, a lot of 30-inch bows, and when they offer those, I seem to it's I don't know who started doing it first, but you know, I look at the Evo or Evo NXT, is that what it's called? Yep. Or the EVO NXT, whatever, and I see it in a 31, a 33, and a 35. You know, they offer it in multiple axle to axle lengths, and I think that people like me are starting to connect the dots of, well, I see these, especially like I think I'm a great example, but I think I'm a decent example of this because I started shooting a recurve, which is a 63-inch axle to axle effectively. It's AMO length, but we'll call it ATA for now. And I'm like, oh, like this isn't too long. So like when I pick up my 33-inch Darton, I'm like, this thing's freaking tiny. But in comparing it to all the other compounds, it's like, you know, it's a slightly longer than average axle to axle, being 33. Yeah. And I think that people are starting to realize that, you know, shooting a 35-inch bow like isn't like a really big deal. Like,
no,
you aren't giving up that much compactness to go from your 30-inch or your 31 up to a 35. So I wouldn't be surprised if all of these 33 to 35-inch bows sell like hotcakes, and then in the future we start to see a lot more R&D put into the 33 to 35-inch area, because people are going to say like, oh yeah, I'd really move into that length of a bow if it was just like 5 feet per second faster, you know, or something like that, because speed will always sell.
It's always an attract. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So I think I notice a bit of a trend with these manufacturers starting to at least offer more longer axle to axle bows, and I hope that it sticks, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think at least locally, the guys that I deal with for a bow setup and that I've dealt with the last couple of years when I was still with the shop, there was a lot of guys that immediately jumped on the small bow bandwagon with with Matthews, and I mean Bowtech, and everyone came out with small bows, 28, right, 30-inch, and it was one where, you know, in the shop a lot of guys loved them, right? And then they start getting some range and going, why is this not like doing what I'm expecting?
Right.
And I mean, I know just personally, I know a lot of people that turned around and took a loss, sold bows that they had bought like months prior, and went and got something else because they saw their own loss of consistency. And I mean, I've shot, I guess I've shot 28 and 30-inch bows, and I still shot them decently, but that's where like I like my RX3 right now, but I know for a fact that, like, especially now that I'll be paying normal prices, and I'm not just like stuck with it for 1 year,
right?
Like the next thing that I buy is gonna be over 32. It's gonna be more than likely a 33 to a 35.
Sure.
And that's just because I know that I shoot those better.
Yep.
And I think that, you know, as people can afford to get out of, you know, what they might consider a mistake, that is going to keep trending.
Weaver, have you ever thought to yourself with we have a similar hunting style with Western hunting or whatever with the, you know, spot and stock. Have you ever thought to yourself, boy, I wish this bow is shorter?
No.
I've never had that thought now. Like, you know, I don't even think I had that thought hunting out of a tree stand either, because I just never really paid attention. But
I haven't either.
I've just never thought that. I know that I've shot long range before, and I've thought, this doesn't hold super great. Like it's kind of all over the place trying to shoot long range, but
yeah, I was actually more worried about longer stabilizers and then even hunting with a longer one, and then having that quivalizer on there. I'm like, man, this wouldn't even be bad in the brush.
yeah.
So I don't know if the actual size of the setup is that important as people think it is, unless you're like in a blind and yeah, you have a small roof or something. But even tree
then, you're
stands,
not
guys
sitting-
have room for days. You know.
Yeah.
That's coming from a guy that doesn't hunt out of a tree stand, but every video I've ever seen, I don't see them bouncing off of limbs and having to get around limbs to shoot their bow.
I've seen people will usually cut all the limbs out anyways, except for what's underneath you.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I've seen people tank cams no matter the length of the axle to axle on their bar on the front because they just don't pay attention. But I don't think that a shorter or longer bow would have saved them because I've seen people do it with, the Hoyt Spire 30 all the way up to, a E35 or whatever. It's just user error. That's not because the bow is
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of, that's just kind of the boat that I'm in now, or camp that I'm in now, I guess. I don't know. I'm not trying to like make it a camp, but I don't think that size is like a really big deal. Like I mean,
What are you talking about? now?
Giggity.
if you ask my wife, she would starkly disagree. Oh God, PG-13. But I'm gonna I hunt out of a tree stand the majority of the time, and
same here.
I'm I have a quivalizer on my bow, and it's effectively a 22-inch stabilizer. And I'm kind of pissed that I won't be able to run it during 3D season without getting kicked into the open class. And it is what it is. Like I'll end up running a 12-inch and
Run open class and beat the guys with your hunting bow.
dude, I'm going to get my dick kicked in if I run open. I'm going to get my dick kicked in. But we're going to talk about 3D here in a minute. But but yeah, it's but yeah, if I was heading out, I fully believe, if I said, if I were to buy a bow right now, it'd probably be the Black 5. I would run a 35-inch axle to axle with a quivalizer on it in Missouri out of a deer stand, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. Wouldn't even think twice. Wouldn't even, it's why would I not get as close to a target setup as humanly possible without being completely over the top? I'm not,
and then I think it's interesting when you guys are like, oh, it holds like a 35 or whatever. It's like, well, if that bow,
imagine if it was 35.
Exactly.
That's what I think. I'm like, okay, because people have said that the new Matthews and the short Hoyt and all the shorter bows that are 32.
It's all where the weight's at.
Right, but they're it holds just like if it holds like the 35-inch would. I'm like, well, why not just make one that's the exact same but 35-inch axle to axle? Imagine, because then it's a 35-inch bow that's gonna quote unquote hold like a 40-inch bow. Why are we not doing this? I also don't believe you. I don't think that a 31-inch bow is going to hold or move like a 35. It doesn't. I don't think that's how that works.
I agree. I know when I think it was on the Defiant when Hoyt kind of changed the game with changing how the string came off the cam to where they changed it to where it came off the top of the cam to give you a better string angle. I think that was that's when you could say it holds like a longer axle bow kind of with the string angle. But yeah, outside of that, weight if you can build the riser to have this weight distribution at a 31-inch, then you could probably build it to have the same weight distribution at a 35-inch, and it would hold effectively at that point like your 40-inch target bows. So why wouldn't you, if that's actually true? I'm kind of in the same camp. I'm kind of skeptical, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Well, it's all weight placement. It's no different than running a longer bar. Or running. If you want low weight, you need a long bar. If you want the same stability with a short bar, you need more weight. So it's where you're putting the weight and how it affects the pivot points.
Yeah.
That's all balance and center of gravity.
Yep. Well, that's probably good part for us to segue into the next part of our discussion, which at least for us is going to be the next podcast. So if I don't know what Garrett's going to do, but for us, if you're listening, this will be the end of this episode, but the next episode will pick up right after where this one leaves off, talking about 3D. So that's it for us, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on that episode.
Yeah, it was a great transaction, great transition right there, Matt. Well
Matt,
done.
you are awesome at transitions.
Yeah,
Like,
man,
it's impressive.
I know it's a gift. What can I say? So cool.
It's just becoming a signature. It's good.
Yeah. Real. Watch Matt butcher this transition. It's gonna be great. Or listen to it, because you don't watch a podcast unless it's on Garrett's YouTube channel. Then you should, and ours soon, I think. Anyway, here we go. Another butcher. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll segue into part 2.
Sweet. All right, guys, that's another episode of the podcast. 82 is in the books, and really appreciate Matt, Rob, and Garrett having me on their podcast, and being able to collaborate with them has been a lot of fun. Every time I get on the podcast with them, I definitely learn something new, and just appreciate their time and their insight. Be sure to go check them out, the Lethal Podcast. I'll put a link down in the description box below. But outside of that, appreciate everybody listening. And if you haven't yet, please leave a review. Those, I believe, do help on the iTunes algorithm. And then also, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see video content. We have a really cool blacktail rutting mini-series for late season blacktails on how to hunt those. And a lot of that should spill over into hunting whitetail as well. And just appreciate everybody for listening. So outside of that, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.